All right, these are my thoughts on our Module 3 discussion post about collection development and self-censorship. So part 1 was why have a collection policy and what are the reasons that we consider them most essential. These were the 3 that I came up with after reading an article about collection development and mostly talking to my school librarian. I'm not going to read them to you because you all know how to read. But the second one was particularly important to me. It allows you to plan for purchases and stay within a budget, which is especially important with subscriptions. And I really liked that idea because, there are so many things nowadays that are required to have a subscription in order to access it digitally or, use the app or whatever. And I think that's going to be a big part of my library in the future. So I really was like, hey, that kind of was like a light bulb for me. I hadn't really thought about that too much until I read the article. Part 2 was an article that we read about self-censorship. So I read this article right here about graphic novel collection development. It was funny because it was the first article that popped up, but I have a very much love-hate relationship with graphic novels. And so I was really interested in this article, and I'm really, really glad that I read it. It talked specifically about why librarians self-censor when it comes to graphic novels. And the last reason, which was afraid of pushback from the community, is the one that really, really stuck out with me. The problem, I think, with self-censorship is that when we do so, we take away opportunities from our students. For instance, a couple years ago, I bought a book called The Best at It by Malik Panchali. And I chose it because it was about an Indian boy in an American middle school. I teach at a school with a very heavy Indian population. And I thought, hey, this is going to be a book that, they can see themselves in. I thought I was going to have some representation. The main character in the book is gay. I've had the book for 2 years and I still have not had the courage to put it on my classroom shelves because I know that were a parent to complain, the fallout would just be ridiculous. So my self-censorship is depriving the opportunity of half my students to see themselves represented in a book, which is probably something that a lot of them have never experienced before. That was probably my biggest takeaway from this article, is that the struggle of self-censorship is not one that's easily overcome, but we need to keep our patrons' best interests in mind and not our fear, I guess. All right, the third part was reading this book about good books or books kids like. This one here was my first thought when I read this article. It was my son, Cohen. Cohen is obsessed with Pikachu. As you can see, we have Pikachu shirts, we have Pikachu pajamas, we have Pikachu socks, we have Pikachu stuffed animals, we have Pikachu action figures, and we have lots of Pikachu books. Every single time we go to a bookstore or a library, he wants more Pikachu books. The thing is we get home and we start to read them and he's never interested. On the flip side of that, we can read the Gingerbread Pirates for the 1000th time and he's always captivated. And I thought that was a really good, real life example of what this article talked about. New readers they want books that they're familiar with. They're familiar with the characters. They're familiar with the plots. But having those, even though they are generally terrible books, having them in the library is important because it gets books in kids' hands. And it's our job to use those books to help kids grow. For instance, I despise Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Hate it. But when a kid comes to me and says, yeah, the only book that I've ever read is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, it's the only book I like, I can ask about that book. I can figure out what is it about that book that they like and hopefully find other books that student likes. And I kind of use the same thing with these terrible books like Pikachu. I happen to know that my son just likes the really, really cute Pikachu. And so if I can find books with cute characters, he's going to be perfectly happy. I forgot this slide was here. I do like this one here, though. Good books and books kids like. I don't think they're the same thing, but I do believe they both have a place in our libraries. There are my resources. And I think that's about it. So thank you so much for watching this really terrible video. Have a good evening.